It's Thursday, which means that it is the time you've been waiting for, our Florida Weekly segment.
If you haven't been, at least Nate has. Eric Raditz is joining us from his office. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Amanda. Hey, Nate. How's it going?
It's going just fine. So let's jump right into it. Of course, it would not be, the week leading up to the 4th of July if we weren't talking about one of the things that makes our country great, and that is voting. The primary and the general elections are coming up soon.
Right, so let me ask you this. It's a rhetorical question, so just think of the answer in your head. With the election coming up, have you registered to vote? And it is coming up on us. In fact, if you're going to be voting in the August primary, the deadline to register is July 20th. So that's coming right up. So we get into the rich history of voting here, though, in America, and we look at the vote by mail push, like how do you do that? We take a look at the numbers. We sit down with supervisors of elections through the state. How do you register? How do you need to change parties to vote in specific races? If so, how do you do that? Where do you go to vote? We cover it all. Basically, though, we just get to the importance of everyone just getting out there to vote.
Yeah, and the pandemic will certainly impact voting. The pandemic has impacted certainly every part of our lives. Now, it's difficult to manage your own life during this story because it's constantly changing with the cases surging right now. But imagine running a business, and that's kind of what you're talking about in your section about how business leaders need to think a little bit differently during this difficult time, Eric.
Totally. And so when you're in business and life is orderly, we can pretty much think in a linear fashion. For example, we can draw conclusions based upon what has happened, then this will probably happen, so we can plan by this. But in this upside down world of COVID, leaders need to be thinking differently, as there's no real playbook for this one. Adapting, being nimble, innovating, listening to your group, your crew in your business. There are just a few things we look at to keep you and your businesses on top of things right now.
And arts and entertainment, you're featuring an artist that gets a lot of her inspiration from the human body.
Yes, Naples-based artist Lynn Davidson has always been fascinated with the human body. Even when she was 5, she recalls being fascinated just with fingers, which she believes can express everything. Her art shows her fascination with flesh and painting it. We show some of her examples, and we sit down with her and take a look at what has drawn her into this obsession.
Interesting. All right, well, now we are officially in July, and Independence Day is coming up, but we're also closing in on the release of NBC's new streaming service, Peacock. So you're previewing that, and you're talking about other movies and shows that we can stream now.
Yes, and so we've seen, Netflix is still kind of the leader. We've got Amazon Prime, we've got Disney Plus, we've got HBO Max, which just came out. So now July 17th, Peacock is coming out, aptly named after NBC's Peacock. So if you like NBC shows and you also like Universal Pictures, they're offering an abundance of treasure trove of things to watch, including some original content. Including In Deep with Ryan Lochte, for example, is mentioned there, and Curious George and a few others. We also say what else is happening in streaming if you want to stay home and look at what's new. Andy Samberg's latest film, Palm Springs, for example, which gives a nod to the classic Groundhog Day, one of my favorites. And also, just don't forget, July 3rd, if you haven't heard, Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton is coming out on Disney Plus. So worth having a Hamilton party if you enjoy that kind of thing. This is the original one shot with the original cast. But certainly we're excited about Peacock and plenty of other things. Check out at Florida Weekly. We have a calendar of things happening in town and throughout Florida.
Yeah, Hamilton is such an impressive show. I know a lot of people are really excited to see that come out. We have another month to kill until sports, so we need all the streaming content that we can. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us your suggestions.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, you guys.
All right, we'll see you next week.